Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's Belinda here from Visualized DNZ. I saw a project that Gayle Agostinelli was doing over on her channel. Might have even been earlier this week or last week, I'm not sure when I saw it. And it was like, I've got to make those. They look super cool. She got the idea from somebody else, Dee Dee. I'm not familiar with Dee Dee, but that's the sort of the origins of this project, and it's a 5-pocket in one full page pocket thing, so multi-pockets, lots of writing space, and I really wanted to make some. So I've got a pile of stuff here. I'm going to pop these top bits aside for now. We'll get to those in due course. Pop them on the floor beside me. So I'm going to start off with this brown paper pad that I've got. It's not super heavyweight, it's only 120 GSM, so it's thicker than your typical copy paper, but I think this will be fine for the back of the pocket. So it will be a pocket in itself. So I'm going to grab a sheet of that, which I've already done, and I can get 2 of these from this one sheet. So the back layer is 8.5 inches by 4 inches. So first I'm going to measure it off at 8.5 inches. So there, and trim that off. Hope everyone's having a great day today. I was all set to turn the camera on, and then a blowfly came in. Oh, it was just so super noisy, and it was in the same room and didn't seem to want to leave. I was like, really? And it's not dead. It is actually beside me, but it's very unhappy at the moment, so it's probably going to be even noisier than normal for a blowfly, if it sort of revives a little bit. So I sprayed some pyrethrum around, and it took to the window, and then I tried to get it with a fly swat, but I couldn't quite reach. Just really managed to knock it down to the floor is all. Didn't really hurt it. So once it's sort of got over that, it's probably going to be noisy again. Right, I'm just going to check this against a page, because I do want one of these to go in my Playful Days journal, which I still haven't finished the cover on. So I need to do that. Okay, so it's going to be slightly too tall for this journal, depending where I put it. So I think I need to go, so when you, like, the standard measurements are 8.5 by 4, but if your journal is not at least 8.5 inches tall, then you need to adjust it to suit your journal. Have I got it around the right way? I could go that way, and I wouldn't need to trim it. So that's 8, just under 8.25 inches. So I'm going to turn it around and actually work this way, I think, because that suits the height of my journal. So I'm working to Gayle's measurements, but they're not the same as my journal, so I'm just going to have to sort of amend them as I go. But the width should be fine, so I'm going to go ahead and cut it at 4 inches. And I'm going to get 2 out of this piece, so I'm going to mark it at 4 inches and at 8. And I'm going to hopefully make 2 at the same time. So just lining it up on my grid. As I'm sure you're well aware now, this is the way I most often cut my pieces. So take off that little strip at the 8-inch mark. And just line up this 4-inch mark, and then we'll have our bases. So this is the back of our pocket, and it is a pocket in itself. So it's the first layer, if you like, of our pockets. There we go. I wasn't quite on the line there, but it doesn't matter. So there are our two bases. Now for the next layer, we need some scrapbook paper. And I've chosen out Playful Days or Playtime scrapbook paper by Grace Taylor. And I did sort of pre-choose, but I didn't grab it out. I just flicked through and thought that one might be quite nice. So now I'll find it again. This one here, this fun little tree design, because I wanted something that would do Playful Days, my Playful Days journal, and then because I'm going to make two, that the second one would work in whatever other theme I might do. So I thought this might work in a nature journal, or something along those lines. Okay, so just push my bases out the way. So this is 8.5 by 3.5, but we amended the height, didn't we? So I'm going to use this bit, so I'm not having to worry about whether I get my measurements correct or not. And I'm going to mark on this, so we get basically the same height. So if I trim it off there, we should be good. I'm trying to avoid the 24 line on my cutting mat because it's getting quite a deep cut in it. Right, I always have this problem that I can't see to line up where I'm cutting on a 12 by 12 sheet. Actually, maybe if I go the other way. And use the pattern on the paper to maybe see that I'm getting it. Okay, the pattern doesn't actually repeat along that line, so that doesn't help. Adventures of crafting. Right, I'm just going to cut and hope for the best. Hope that it's straight, and I might have to do a little tidy up if it's not. Not the end of the world. Okay, and so I couldn't cut all the way to the end because I would have cut off my mat, so I'm just going to snip it with scissors for that end bit. So this bit we're going to put aside as a scrap. Okay, so 3.5 inches wide is what we're after now. So I'll do the same thing. I'll mark at 3.5. And at 7 to get our 2 second layers. So what's everybody up to today? Are you crafting? Hopefully you get some time to craft or do art or something creative. I don't think a day is complete unless there's something creative going on. It's super fun. My husband messaged me from work yesterday and said, how about we instigate a craft hour? So every evening between 8 and 9 p.m. we turn off the TV and do art. So last night, first night, we that's exactly what we did. We turned off the TV and I worked in my journal, caught up on my journal for the day, and he worked on some digital art, and it was just really nice. And the idea is that we art and chat. I must say there wasn't a lot of chat going on, but that's okay. It was the first one, and I really hope we can keep that up because I think it's an excellent practice to maintain. He's like, he floated this idea and it was like, I'm totally up for that. Don't have to convince me to have an hour set aside in the evening to create, because I always am anyway, and I think it's awesome that he wants to do it too. So that was super exciting. Okay, so now I'm going to round the corners on these, just on one side. So on this side, I'm going to round the corners, and that will get attached along that edge there. And so far we have 2 pockets. So we have a pocket in here and a pocket in here. I can't remember whether she notched that or not. I don't think she did. You could notch it if you wanted to. Now on this other one, I'm going to round the corners on the opposite side, just for a change, just to show you that you can mix it up a little bit so it faces the other way. Just get rid of all my little corner cut-offs. So this one will face this way. So think about which way you want it to face. Okay, so there are our 2 bases, and I will be distressing everything, so don't get distressed about it. It will be happening. Sorry, very punny, I know. Okay, so now we need to do our next 3 pockets, which are all the same size, and for this, just a scrap of scrapbook paper. So I've got out a few options here that I thought might work. So we could go dotty, kind of like that, or we could go plainer. These are both textured, different textures, and they're more of a cardstock. I think the mustard yellow kind of actually works quite well. Right, so let's start with the spotty one, because I quite like the spotty one. And we need 3. Now I'm just going to check my measurement because we have altered the measurements. So 3, yep, 3 by 2.5. So we need at least 7.5. Yep, we've got plenty of space. So the original measurements of the pockets are going to be fine for this. I don't need to amend them. And we need 3 of them. So we do, which way am I going to go first? Okay, I'm going to do this, cut down. Actually, how much have I got here? Sorry, I'm thinking and not doing a lot of sensible talking, am I? Okay. Just make a decision. Okay, I'm going to cut this way at 3. This time I'm going to make marks all the way up. I should have actually done it on the reverse side, so I don't need to worry about whether my lines show or not. But never mind. Right, and I'm going to turn my mat sideways this time. And I just realised I did not turn my light on, so I hopefully you're not too much in shadow. I'm just going to turn it on now, so beware it's going to flash for a minute until the camera adjusts. There we go. I hope that wasn't too bad, but I was finding I couldn't see my pencil lines very well with the shadow, so I thought, yeah, I do need to turn it on. So sorry if that was annoying. And hopefully we got better light for you now though, and for me. I was distracted by that darn fly. Right, I could have done both pockets out of this one, but I think it's nice to mix it up and do different ones. Please excuse me. I think I need to take a little sip of my tea. Right, so I'm going to mark at 2.5, 5 and 7.5. So our pockets are going to be 2.5 inches deep by 3 inches wide. And like anything, you know, do the measurements to suit. You don't have to use the same measurements. Adjust them as you need to. And it doesn't even really matter if they're different depths, as long as they fit on your pocket. I think I got a bit of a tickle. Might be from the pyrethrum I sprayed. The good news is though that I've only heard one low buzz from the fly so far. Right, and last one here. Right, so I am just going to rub off my little pencil marks. Here we go. Right, now I need my hole punch, and we need to do some thumb notches in these. So I'm just going to stack them all together. They aren't perfectly the same size, probably can't tell, but I think they'll be fine. If they're not, well, I'll just trim them up as needed. Right, and I'm going to try and judge the middle because I can't see the sides of the pockets. Oh, do I need the smaller one maybe? Well, I can definitely see that better, but can I actually punch through all those layers with this punch? That is the question. Oh, and that would be a no. Okay, let's go for this one and just hope for the best that I line it up okay. And I did leave a little divot there, so I'm just going to cut below that. There we go. That wasn't too bad. Right. Time to get distressing. So I didn't want something too busy as this top layer of pockets. I didn't want to take away from the background paper. I want it to complement and not compete. Now you could round the corners on these if you wanted. That's an option. I will work that out in a minute if I want to do that, and then I'll have to just re-ink the bits if I do. So I haven't trialed making these, I'm just going by memory of what I saw Gayle do. So it might be slightly different, might be the same, I don't know. Watch so many crafting videos that it can be hard to keep everything straight in one's brain. Right, so I'm going to ink around this. I really wish though if I could remember whether she notched this or not. I don't think so, but you know, sometimes you miss things when you're crafting along, because I was doing something else at the time, but I was crafting but a different project, and so sometimes you do miss little details of what's going on. Okay, so I only need to ink around this edge because it's the only bit that will show, and the other edge I can ink if it does happen to show after the fact. So here we go. Spongy crumbs everywhere. Right, so let's glue this one together. So I'm going to use my tacky glue. Sorry for reaching under the camera there. I had it way at the top of my desk. Normally it's a bit closer to me. Right, so using my tacky glue, and we're just gluing. Oh, look at all those spongy crumbs if you can see them on the back. Right, so just gluing along the top edge and the bottom edge, and down the side where the corners are not rounded. Just got a bit of a glob of glue there. I want to spread that out a little bit so it doesn't get too messy. I think this is super cute paper. Right, and just lining it up, giving it a wee, oops, didn't want to move it. that's close enough. Just need to wipe off the glue off my finger. Right, there's our first layer done, or our first 2 layers. Okay, so then these wee pockets get stacked like so. So work out the spacing of where you want them. Might put that one a bit closer to the bottom. And there, I think that looks kind of cute. Not actually seeing a lot of the background paper. That's okay. It's still cute. So again, just the 3 sides, the 2 sides and the bottom of each pocket, glue along there. Just try and keep it nice and fine so you're not taking up too much space of the pockets. And glue them on where you want them positioned. Now, depending on what height you've got of the bases, you might need to trim down the pockets a little bit if you haven't got enough room. Just do make sure that you lay them out first, just to check that everything is going to fit where you want it. So I'm going to glue the top one. Actually, no, I'm going to glue the middle one first, just so I can try and keep them in line. So it comes together pretty quick, as you can see, given I'm not the speediest crafter in the world, but I love what I do, and I think that's way more important than being quick, although sometimes I wish I was quicker. Right, and the last one, oops, went a bit wild on the glue with that one, never mind. She'll be fine. That's such a Kiwi thing. It's like, she'll be right. Kiwis say it a lot, and it just means, you know, whatever's going wrong, oh, she'll be right. It's close enough. It's rough enough. She'll be right. Okay, so there we have our 5 pocket. So you've got a pocket here, pocket down the bottom. This card is quite thick, so I can't just slide it in. And then this pocket here, and then this pocket here, once that's glued down on the page, again just on the 3 sides. Where did my page go? So let's grab out my Playful Days journal. And so we're not finished with this yet, so maybe there. I mean, I'm not going to put pocket opposite pocket, but just to show you, put down on the page, and then you've got those lovely pockets. Now there's a lot of writing space in this project, so I'm not going to continue with the other one at the moment. I'm going to go ahead and complete this one. So for the next stage, we need some coffee dyed paper, or whatever paper you like. It doesn't need to be coffee dyed. I'm just choosing to have it coffee dyed. It's what Gayle used, so I thought I would do the same. This one is one I've coffee dyed with bubbles, so it's got really cool patterns on it. It's really nice. I do need to do some more of this. Right, so we want to fold it roughly in thirds, so it doesn't need to be absolutely precise. Just needs to be folded so it will fit in our pocket. And we're going to have to trim off a bit because it's too tall. So that's going to go in our back pocket, and it's too tall, a fraction too tall for our pocket, and then by the time we've glued it, it's going to be way too tall. So I'm going to cut about an inch off, and I think we'll be okay at about an inch. So I'm actually going to do 3 centimeters, which is slightly more, and then I know we'll be safe. So just going to take 3 centimeters off the top, which is about slightly less than 1 1/4 inches, somewhere in that vicinity. It's not terribly important as long as it does fit in your pocket. Oops, I didn't cut all the way through there. Okay, just going to go with my scissors. And gosh, made a mission for myself, didn't I? Hopefully I was in frame then. I have a feeling I wasn't, but I was just grappling with the paper. Here we go. So I've got this cool strip that can be stamped on. So yeah, that's going to fit nicely. Okay, so that's one. Then we need another sheet to go in the next pocket. So again, just roughly in thirds. Oops. Sorry about that. My alarm to take my calcium supplement. It's gone off earlier today than what it normally does because I have to change it every day. The timing to suit, and forgot that it was extra early today. Right, so I think we'll still be right with the 3 centimeters, but we can always trim it a bit more if needed. Let's try the 3 centimeters. I actually am going to go just like a millimetre or 2 more than 3 centimeters because this pocket is shorter. So give it a test run. Yep, and that fits beautifully. So it does overhang the back pocket, but I don't think that matters. By the time you've got everything stacked in the pocket, then you'll easily see that there's 2 different things there. Okay, so that's the back 2 pockets. Now for the front 2 pockets, we need 3 strips, 1 for each pocket, and we need them, I did not write the measurements down, we need them about 2.5 inches wide. So we go here and mark off, could go a little bit more than 2.5. Hang on, just need to remeasure again. Yeah, no, we wouldn't have enough room at 2 3/4, I don't think. So I'm going to stick to 2.5 inches. So go 2.5, 5, and 7.5. And again, I'm going to turn my mats sideways so I can cut them. So you need 3 sheets of whatever paper you decide to use for this. You could use coloured paper, you could use avocado dyed paper, you could use plain copy paper, note paper, just whatever you prefer. Line it up. The downside to doing my cutting this way is that often things aren't lined up perfectly. You know, when you use a proper cutting, what do they call them, trimmer, paper trimmer or guillotine type thing, you get a lot more accuracy. But that's okay, I live with it. Things are fine, and most times it's not terribly important, or you can just trim it up a little bit if it's wildly, you know, noticeably off. It's all good. Right, one more cut, and then I will show you the folding of these, because the way Gayle folded them is just super cute and makes sort of like an envelope top. Well, I guess it is an envelope top, but then it all flips and opens out for lots of journaling space. So super cute. So thank you, Gayle, for your wonderful crafting and sharing these wonderful techniques and things. I don't think Gayle's ever watched one of my videos, but one day she might. Who knows? Okay, so take our first strip and fold it into a point at the top. So I don't know how Gayle gets it so even, but I'm going to give it my best shot. And that's going to do. It's not quite a point at the top, but it's close enough. Okay, and then, so we've got our two little triangles at the top, and then we fold down that top bit just a little after the, so not right where the paper is, but just a little bit after it, below it. Gosh, get my description right so I don't confuse you all. Okay, so that makes sense so far. We've got our little triangles, and then just below the triangles it's folded to form this little like envelope type flap, and then turn up the bottom to almost that crease line. Just again, just a bit below it, and give that a crease. And then bring it back down and fold the bottom bit up to that crease that you just made, and again just a little bit below it, just a fraction, and then fold that up, and then fold that up again. Now for some reason that is not hitting in the right place. Gayle made it look so easy, honestly. So I'll just check my folds here. Yeah, it looks okay. So why is mine catching at the top? I'm just going to give it an extra crease, and it's going to have a funky little fold in the middle. That's okay. Here we go. So you've got this cute little thing that tucks into these pockets, and these need to be distressed, so it tucks into the pocket there, and that's a whole heap of journaling space. Like when you open it right out, you've got this whole strip of to write, cover with stickers or do some art on, whatever you want to do on it. Lots and lots of space to journal. So again, folding in the triangles and folding that down just below the triangles. Let's see if I can fold this one a bit better. So folding up, I'm going to come down a bit further this time. Fold that up to that line, just shy of. And then now comes the moment of truth. Yep, that one definitely worked better. So just making sure you come down that first bit there is the critical moment for it to fold up nicely. Okay, so that one tucks in there. And the final one. She did this several times in her video, so it did sink into the brain, but there's nothing like actually trying to do it to kind of get a feel for where things need to sit in terms of your folds. So if you want an idea, oops, can't fit my ruler in the gap. So I reckon about there. So it's about about 4 millimeters or 3/16 of an inch. That's getting fine on the details, isn't it? Just to give you an idea, if you like to have an idea of where you should fold it. So that's about 4 millimeters or 3/16 of an inch below that top flap fold, and you should be all good to fit it nicely once you've done the rest of the folds. Yeah, and up. Yep, cool, that works really nicely. There we go, and there's our final little one, which I will distress, but I won't do that on camera because I don't think you really need to see me. Oops, I've got a bit of extra glue on the sides here, so it still will fit, I think. Let's try this. I think this one's actually slightly narrower. Yeah, that one fits better. Like I was saying, you know, everything doesn't come out totally the same because of the way I cut things with the cutting board and the knife, and that one fits nicely there. So just switch around the order I put them in the pockets. So there we go. That is, once it's all distressed up, and you can decorate these pockets if you wish. I'm tending to think I might, because this is fairly plainish. And then that goes on your page. And lots and lots of journaling space. So I think that's such a super project, and they look really cool. So that's that one. Let's go ahead and see if we can finish up this other one while we're here. How are we going for time? Yeah, we've got a little bit of time. So let's go with this yellow. And so we decided the 3 inches across was a good measurement, so let's stick with that. And I still haven't learned, I'm still making the marks on the right side of the paper, and this is textured side as well, so this could be interesting as to how straight I get it. Alright, turn my mat around again so I can cut the length of it. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I've got to tell you. Don't know that there is actually. Apart from it's a beautiful day here, so I'm looking forward to getting outside and doing a bit of reading in the sunshine. So I'll do that at afternoon tea time, take a cuppa out and sit in the sun, get some fresh air. And it's really lovely out there, listening to the birds and feeling the breeze and being nice and warm. I do also hope to get into the office and do some more work. I'm working on a new digital kit, which I'm super excited by. I've done, I think, 4.5 pages. I'm working on a 5th page so far, and I'm just loving it. And it's very labor intensive. I'm having to do a lot of cleanup work on the material I'm using, which I've scanned, but it's just so enjoyable to see it all coming together. And the labor intensive work I'm doing is like, just when it's done, it's just so magical almost. It's like, yeah, that's so totally worth it. It makes it look great. So yeah, that's a bit of fun. So hoping to get into the office again to do some more work on that, which is so happy that it's now warm enough that I can do that, because it's really horrible in the office when it's cold. It gets really cold in there, and the computer doesn't like working when it's cold. So yeah, just really happy to get some good computer time going. Right, that's one pocket. Now this, because it's a light cardstock, I don't think I'll try and do the thumb notches all at the same time, because I think I'd be inviting issues. So I'm going to have to do one at a time and then try and get them, you know, not too wildly out of alignment from each other. Again, it's not the end of the world if they don't line up perfectly, but I'd really rather have them aligned if possible. Right. So let's give this a go and see how we get on. Oops, sorry, I was completely off camera then. I'm just going to have to guess because I can't tell. I'm trying to judge by where I'm holding my fingers, but because the card bends, I don't know whether it's actually working or not. So just hope for the best. Right, distress these, and I do need to distress before I glue them down, because once they're glued down it's so much more difficult and messy because the ink gets in places you don't want the ink. So bear with me. Oops, I haven't rounded the corners on these. Sorry, I'm just doing it off camera a little bit so that the crumbs don't fall onto the ones and dirty them up, because invariably when brushing the crumbs off you end up with little ink streaks like I have on this one. So I'm just kind of doing it off to the side so the crumbs don't fall over on top. Right, so they're inked, and go ahead and ink round this one again. See, I went and got more crumbs on there. So I'm just going to do it off to the side a little bit. Sorry. Just trying to save myself getting in a right mess. And just the edge on this one. Yeah, just making sure I'm doing the right side. It doesn't matter though, because it's the same on both sides, so I can just flip it over. Get my brain in gear. Okay, so we're ready to glue them together. Oh, I'm getting hungry all of a sudden. I think it's probably because I haven't had enough to drink. This is my second video I've recorded this morning, and so I don't drink as much when I'm recording because I'm talking. So yeah, I think it's because I haven't had enough to drink yet. Can you tell I'm concentrating? Right, there we go. And remember, this one's facing the other opposite way to the first one that I did. Right. Yeah, I've got some ink streaks. Not the end of the world. I'll be decorating them up anyway, so I can always add more ink. That's one way to disguise it. If you end up with ink where you don't want it, just add more ink and make it look deliberate. Tips for covering your errors. You can find them here at Visualized NZ, because I make plenty of errors. Yeah, that's super cute. Really like that. I think the yellow was quite a nice choice actually. Try and keep my glue a bit closer to the edge this time. So with the pockets for my playful days, I'm thinking perhaps just a word, maybe something like a butterfly or something, just quite simple, just to add a little bit of detail. Even kind of thinking about maybe fussy cutting a tree or two from the scrap and putting that on. That might be quite nice, and bring in some of that paper onto the more into the focal area, since most of it's ended up covered up. That's my thinking at the moment. Right, there's our 3 pockets. So I'm not going to do the folding of the 3 pages to go behind. I am just going to do the ones for the pockets, for the top pockets, just in case you need to see it again. So first we'll cut the paper down to our 2.5 inch strips, 2.5, 5 and 7.5. Better close my glue since I've finished with that. Sorry, I know I've gone very quiet. I'm just kind of focused on getting this complete so I'm not taking up too much of your time, because the video is getting on a bit. Oops, that's so annoying when I do that. Just get it lined up and then you knock it off. Right, so almost there, people. Oh, and I think the washing's finished, so after I've done this I need to go out and hang the washing out while it's beautiful and sunny. So I stripped the bed off, put all the sheets and some towels and things in the washing machine because it's going to be a good day to get them dry. And I need to finish my cup of tea too, which is probably half cold now. Right, so fold one end into a point, your 2 little triangles, and fold it down just below that to make your little flap. So when it comes to writing in these, you just open it up, write out and write on it, and then because it's all creased, you can bone fold if you like. I'm just using my thumbnail to give it a nice crease, and then you can fold it back up and tuck it in the pocket. So nice little secretive place to journal as well. So remembering to bring it down a little bit from that top fold line so you don't run into a catching issue like I did on my first one. And then if it's too low, you can always just fold this one up a bit further. And that's not folded straight, because my cut's probably not quite straight. Just going to fix that a little bit. That's better. There we go. So there's our first wee one. Hopefully the glue's dry enough to pop that in the pocket. So 2 more to go, and then I will call it a video, and I'll do the rest, the distressing and the pages for the back 2 pockets I'll do off camera. So I think that was relatively straightforward enough that you would get the idea. And you could just fill it with a bit of paper cut down to size. You know, you don't need to necessarily fold it, but if you want to add the extra journaling space, then folding it is, just gives you more room, more journaling space. Now that is totally not straight, and that will bug me, so I'm going to trim that down now. While I can. Here we go. Just a smidge, but enough to be visible and obvious. So straighten that up a little bit. Still not perfect, but it's definitely better than what it was. Right, so here we go, number 2. Okay, and you don't have to push these little bits of paper all the way down in your pocket, just wherever you like to position them. Leave them poking out a little bit more or a little less, depending what you like. I do recommend waiting till the glue's dry though, just so you don't end up gluing them inside the pocket, because then there's no journaling space at all. Right, this one's not straight either, but it's a little bit better than the last one I did. Sponge crumbs. When I say sponge crumbs, I'm talking about from the sponge I use for distressing. It's just a makeup sponge. Here we go, number 3. So there we go. So we managed to get 2 done. Okay, this one's not totally complete. Still need to do the folding of the paper for this side bit. But it's close enough to being finished. And then a bit of decorating. And we managed to make 2. So really cool, really effective, and I love that there's a lot of journaling space within these, but there's also lots of decoration as well. So there we go, that's the project for today. The 5 pockets. I don't know, is that too many uses of the word pocket? Probably, but there we go. So I hope you enjoyed this. Look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks for joining me. Bye for now.